Now today what I want to do is I want to zoom out on that second piece where I want to talk all about trust, because trust is not just built through what you say. Trust is built through patient experiences. Now before a patient ever decides if your explanation makes sense, their nervous system is deciding something much more important, okay? It's deciding, do I feel safe here? Visibility gets our community in the door, and trust is what keeps them there. And remember, trust is not something that you explain, it's something that your patient experiences. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I have the pleasure of simplifying the marketing and the mindset so you, the chiropractor, can increase your income, your impact, and your enjoyment in practice too. Now today, I want to talk about something that sits right at the heart of practice growth, but is often misunderstood. Because if the last episode that we had was about why people don't find you, this one is going to be about why people don't stay. Now I want to start with something that I see all of the time, okay? You have a new patient come in, they seem engaged, they nod along, they say yes to care, and then somewhere along the way, they don't end up continuing. Maybe it starts with them missing visits, maybe they don't book back in, maybe they quietly disappear, and then you're often left thinking, hey, they liked me, so what was it that happened? Now, when this happens, most chiropractors go straight to this place, okay? Was it the price? Maybe I didn't explain it well enough. Did they not understand me? But more often than not, the real issue isn't a communication problem, it's a trust problem. Okay, let me say this again. The real issue isn't a communication problem, it's a trust problem. Now, a couple of episodes ago, we talked a little bit about communication, and the one big key thing that we spoke about is that most chiropractors, when they're wanting to build trust, are leading with, I can help you, okay? We jump straight into the solution, okay? But what we said in that episode is that before someone is ready to hear that, there are two things that need to happen first. The first is they need to feel understood, and then they need to feel like they trust you, and that order really matters. Now, today, what I want to do is I want to zoom out on that second piece where I want to talk all about trust, because trust is not just built through what you say. Trust is built through patient experiences. Now, before a patient ever decides if your explanation makes sense, their nervous system is deciding something much more important, okay? It's deciding, do I feel safe here? Now, I'm going to say that again. Before a patient ever decides if your explanation makes sense, their nervous system is deciding something much more important, and that is, do I feel safe here? And this decision, folks, is not logical. It's automatic. It's felt. Now, this means trust is not built through better words. It's built through safety. Now, before we get into this, there's a couple of things I want to make really clear. Trust is not something that you build once and then you're done, okay? It's not like a switch that gets flipped for the first few visits and then it just stays there. Trust is something that is built, maintained, and then sometimes, unfortunately, it's lost. And this is where a lot of us as chiropractors get caught, because we might feel like we're doing a really great job early on. The consult went well, the report of findings really landed, they started care, and then somewhere along the line, they just dropped off. And again, we're left wondering, what was it that happened? And often, again, it's not just one big thing as well, because trust might be one of those things that was eroded slowly. Maybe something felt rushed, maybe something felt inconsistent, maybe something just didn't feel quite right. And here's something really important too, okay? Rushed is not about time, because you can feel rushed in a 60-minute visit, or you can feel deeply cared for in 2 minutes. Rushed is about presence or a lack of presence. When somebody isn't fully with you, your nervous system feels it immediately, because remember, your patients, our patient's nerve system is constantly evaluating, do I feel safe here? So yes, trust is something that we build over time on every visit. But in today's episode, I want to focus on 4 critical moments early in the patient journey, because trust here is either established or lost. These moments often determine whether somebody even starts care or commits to it in the first place. So let's dive into the 4 moments where trust is either built or where it's broken. Now, moment number one is at the front desk. This first moment happens before you even get to say a word as the doctor. From the second that somebody walks into your practice, their nervous system is scanning, okay? They're asking themselves, do I feel welcome? Do I feel seen? Do I feel safe? Now, trust can be broken here when the environment feels cold, transactional, or rushed. Now, again, rushed is not about how busy you are. It's whether the person in front of you feels like they matter in the moment. And trust is built through simple things: eye contact, warmth, presence, using their name, a pause before you move on to the next task, a genuine welcome. Now, before you've said anything clinically, trust is already being decided. Now, this means this is something that we need to work on with our front desk staff. Now, moment number two is the initial consultation itself. Now, this is where we connect back to the last episode, okay? This is where we demonstrate understanding. But underneath that, what we're doing is we're really creating safety. And again, trust here breaks when we rush, when we interrupt, or when we jump too quickly into solutions. I'm going to say that again, okay? Trust breaks when we rush, when we interrupt, or we jump too quickly into solutions. And again, this is not about time, folks, because you can spend 45 minutes with somebody and they still will not feel heard. Trust builds when we slow down emotionally from a nervous system point of view. We listen, we reflect, and we allow the patient to be fully heard. And this is where I want you to think about being human, okay? Not just being the doctor. Think about it for a moment. If you were sitting in a coffee shop with a friend and they told you that their little one hasn't slept for the last 6 weeks, you wouldn't just jump into the next question. You'd pause. You'd say something like, "Oh my God, how are you coping with that?" You'd respond to them as a human being first. But in practice, what we often do is we move straight into the clinical questions. What makes that worse? What makes it better? Who have you seen for this? And when we skip over the human moment, okay, we miss an opportunity to build safety and connection. Now, again, there's practical ways that we can do this along with the example that I've just given. We can summarize what we've heard. We can use their language. We can ask one more question than feels necessary. Often we're too busy wanting to rush into the next part of the exam, but taking that moment to say, is there anything else that I need to know? Okay. So that one more question. This is where many chiropractors, when we are rushed, are losing people without even realizing it. Now, moment number three happens in the report of findings. This is a leadership moment here, folks. And this is where your patient is not just listening to your words. What they're doing at this time here is they're feeling your certainty. Trust happens here when we over-explain, overcomplicate, or if we sound unsure, okay? Because uncertainty creates doubt, and doubt reduces safety. Trust builds through clarity, simplicity, and confidence, okay? Clarity, simplicity, and confidence. And this is where a lot of breakdown in trust actually comes from, not from the patient, but from the pressure that we put on ourselves as the chiropractor. We walk into the report of findings thinking, I need to get this person to understand chiropractic, to commit to long-term care, lifetime care. Now, folks, that's a heck of a lot of pressure. Because instead of leading with clarity, what we're doing at this moment is we're trying to convince. And the moment that you're convincing, you've lost the game because your patient feels that. It shows up in your tone, in your pace, and it certainly shows up in your physiology. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't share the bigger picture. We absolutely should, okay? But the goal in this moment is not to get somebody to buy into a lifetime of chiropractic care. There are chiropractors that I know that have been exposed to it for decades and still don't get it. The goal here, however, is to get them to take the next step. And maybe that's to have them commit to the next 6 or 12 weeks, okay? Can they see enough value and feel enough certainty to begin? Because when we take the pressure off of ourselves, we show up differently. We're more calm, we're more present, we're more certain, and that's what creates safety. That's what builds trust. So the practical shift here is say less, but mean it. Be clear about what you recommend. Hold your ground with calm certainty. Patients don't need more information. They need more certainty. All right, moment number 4, and this happens during the first adjustment. This is the most physical expression of trust. Your presence, your trust, your intention, and really, This is a nerve system to nerve system communication, and trust again is going to be broken when they feel rushed, when it feels mechanical, or when it feels transactional. And again, this is not rushed because of time, folks. I'm not telling you across any of these 4 moments that we need to spend more time, okay? Now, something really important to understand here, especially for the first adjustment, is that many patients are coming in with some level of fear or uncertainty. Maybe they've seen those crack and crunch videos online. Maybe somebody else has told them that chiropractic is dangerous. They're worried that they might get hurt. They're unsure of what to expect. Now, this is a huge opportunity for us to build trust. Before you even adjust, check in with them. Have you got any concerns or questions before we get started? Let them know what to expect. Hey, most people feel some improvement from the first adjustment, okay? Some people don't notice a lot of change to begin with, but that's because the problem's been there for a while. And some people can feel a little bit sore afterwards, okay? A bit like you've had a workout in the gym or a big day in the garden there as well. We want to normalize the experience. We want to reduce uncertainty. We want to let them know that we're going to follow up. I'm going to give you a call later on today or early this evening to check and see how things are improving. All of this creates safety. All of this safety creates trust. Now, there's another moment that often happens, or another mistake that often happens in this moment as well. And that is, again, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We feel like in this first adjustment, we need to fix everything. So we do way too much. And again, the patient feels this because this moment is not about doing everything, gang. It's about beginning the process. It's about finding where to start and making a clear and very intentional adjustment, and then allowing the body to respond and move forwards, okay? This is about beginning a journey, not the entire solution. Trust builds when that first adjustment experience feels calm, clear, and very intentional, because this moment is where the patient is asking, was it worth it? Okay, that's what they're saying. Now, here's the core insight that I want you to take from today's episode. Trust, gang, is not built in one big moment. It's built in a series of small, consistent experiences. And patients don't decide based on logic first. They decide based on safety first. Now, let me leave you with this. Where in your practice might trust be unintentionally breaking? Is it the first impression? Is it the consult? Is it the report of findings? Or maybe it's the first adjustment itself. And here's something else to be aware of. These moments can be really hard for us to see in ourselves, because when we're in the room, we feel like we're doing all the right things. We feel present. We feel clear. We feel like we're connecting. But what we feel and what the patient experiences are often not the same thing. So one of the most valuable things that you can do is get feedback, okay? Not from the patient, but this is where your CA can be incredibly helpful. They might be in the room already, scribing or taking notes, or you can have them step in from time to time, and they can give you feedback on the simple things. Did you use the patient's name? Did you make eye contact? Did anything feel rushed? Because these are the small signals that build or break trust. Now, another option with patient permission is to record parts of the consult or the report of findings, okay? Not to critique yourself harshly, but for you to observe as well, because awareness, folks, is the first step. And great doctors don't assume they're doing it great. They check in. Now, remember, you don't need to fix everything at once. You need to just start by noticing, because awareness will be the first step to change and the first step to building trust. All right, let's wrap this up. If the last episode was all about visibility, this one is about trust. Visibility gets our community in the door, and trust is what keeps them there. And remember, trust is not something that you explain. It's something that your patient experiences. All right, folks, thanks for all that you do. Keep saving lives, and I look forward to seeing you back here next week. Bye. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.